Philadelphia, Toronto, yes, 11-12, and a track meet kind of total has been set for this particular game. 6.5 shaded to the under. It's hard not to see why. We're getting a total in that 6.5 range here in this hockey game. It's a situation where Toronto, defensively, not great at all against Carolina, and it drew the ire of their head coach, Mike Babcock. He just lit into his team after that game against Carolina the other night, said they outworked us. They worked hard. We didn't. They won puck battles. We didn't. He went into this big spiel post-game, Mike Babcock, about how poor that performance was for the Leafs. And one thing you can say about Toronto, their 7-3 start, last 2 tries off a loss, they bounced back and played much better. Wouldn't surprise me to see that again here tonight. Not the great price by any stretch. Again, Toronto, no bargain on this team this year. Last year was the year to bet Toronto. Last year when they surprised people a little bit and took the NHL world by storm with that rookie-laden team getting into the playoffs, which a lot of people didn't see happening. Now they're being priced like more of a heavyweight here in the Eastern Conference, and you can see it here laying about -160 here at home in this game. Good bounce-back spot for Toronto. Flyers, not a good start here. This whole week's actually been a nightmare for them defensively. I mean, they gave up a bunch of goals to Anaheim, who's been struggling to score goals so far this season, and they gave up a ton of goals to a depleted Ottawa team the other night. No Kyle Turris, no Bobby Ryan, no problem. Ottawa scores 5 goals. The power play was good for Ottawa against the Flyers that night. So all of a sudden, there's some big warts showing for the Flyers defensively their last 2 games this week. So I'd be very reluctant to play this game under, even at 6.5. Like, if you're giving up 5+ goals to Anaheim and Ottawa, good luck tonight against a motivated, ornery, angry, motivated Toronto Maple Leafs team. That could be a recipe for disaster for the Flyers at the defensive end of the ice tonight. We'll see. It's Toronto or pass for me. It's a little pricey, but if you're willing to lay some juice, maybe the Leaf side worth looking at. Let's see. In terms of this game, Alex has a thought. Andrew has a thought. Dana has a thought. It's a full house. Alex, let's start with you.
Yeah, it's funny. We were talking about it right after the first week, and seeing these totals going right up to 6.5, and I think I was joking. I said, "Wow, we might see a 7 soon." If these two teams keep playing, for example, just these two alone, they keep scoring the way they do. If they meet up again, I can't imagine why that wouldn't open as a 7. I think we're going to see these totals go up higher and higher across the league. Even though we did see trending to the under, it was 5 of those 7 games last night went under the total. Unfortunately, one of the ones that I had over went under. But like I said, all the offenses here for both teams are solid, and the defenses here have been really bad as of late. So 6.5, I wouldn't even worry about it. I would go over on that. And maybe if you find some props that are giving out, because obviously we see 6s, you see those derivative market kind of alternate totals. If you see an alternate total of 7 at a higher plus money, I wouldn't shy away from that either.
All right, there we go. So, yeah, I mean, it's very hard right now, especially with the Leafs and even the Flyers, the way things have gone the last week to go over, or to go under, rather, in their games. Andrew, you're involved with the Flyer-Leaf game. What are you looking at here?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to kind of agree with you on that, Ian, where it's one of those things where even though the total has spiked, it's one of those things we predicted it. We thought it would be higher as we've moved on, guys, for the Leafs games at 6.5, and I just have to agree with the over. I'm not going to take any shots shading with the under at all, even though, it's as high as it is. I think this is a spot for the Leafs where they come out firing. I think a first period bet would be an obvious play. I think both teams at least puck one in the first period, and I think it's just a fast-paced track meet. These are 2 goalies that, in my opinion, are actually pretty good goalies. It's just the way that their teams play. It's just part of their team identities that they give up. They give up goals to get goals, and they take a lot of chances. Both teams take a lot of risks. They capitalize on their power plays, which is huge. If you're looking at a total ever, checking teams' power play percentages, who's doing well, who's on their power play, first and second line. And I think that the Leafs and the Flyers are capable of putting up these numbers. So I wouldn't be too scared of that 6.5 total whatsoever. I think this should be an exciting game to watch, guys.
It's again, you got defensive warts for Philly, Toronto. Toronto is going to want to play better defensively. That's the one concern I would have, but certainly you're going to get a good effort, I think, and be able to see them find the back of the net more than a few times against the Flyers. And presumed starting goalie Brian Elliott, who's 3.3 goals against, and look at that save percentage. It's something really disastrous. 876. I mean, he had a couple good games early on, but it's been rough go for Elliott the last few. Dana's involved too on the Leafs-Flyers game. Dana, what do you think?
I guess we know how good they are defensively when you just rattle off those numbers, and yet Brian Elliott's still 4-2 on the season, so that would speak to the over as well. I guess we get to see what a 24-minute practice gets you, as Mike Babcock was telling reporters yesterday that his practice was playing for 30. Obviously, they got it over in 24. They sent the message that he wasn't very happy where they are. Tyler Bozak comes out and says, look, I don't like the team's work ethic. Okay, well, when you're talking about work ethic, I guess when you allow 6 goals to Carolina, you can only be talking about their defensive work ethic. And so I think they're going into this game. I don't know if they can execute, but certainly there would be an emphasis on the Toronto playing better defense, as there probably should have been the whole season anyway. But I think it's a little bit of a wake-up call against Carolina. Historically, from a trend standpoint, the under is 20-7 when the Philadelphia Flyers come off of 1 day's rest. The under is also 6-2 when the Toronto Maple Leafs have lost the previous game by 3 goals or more, something to think about. There also is some injuries in this. James Van Riemsdyk could miss Saturday's game. He has an injured leg. It's not a huge deal, obviously, offensively, but it does mess with their depth, and it does reshuffle lines, and you know how I feel about that. Also, Nolan Patrick didn't play on Thursday. Some thought it was a concussion issue. Obviously, it's not, because he did practice yesterday, but you never know how those things are and how that lingers. And again, not a guy that, right now at least, that you're really leaning on for offense, but it does hurt, again, your depth up the middle, which he does provide. And look, guys, I'll go against the grain again. I mean, I'm not sitting there and watching a 2.5-hour hockey game and hope I get 7 goals in this game. I have no problem going under in this. I think you're going to get Toronto's best effort defensively, and from a trend perspective and historically, this is a good spot for the under, so that's where I'm laying today.
Yeah, I think people have listened to that great breakdown by Dana, and they're rushing to the window right now because that total's getting hit as we speak. 6.5 now, down to 6 in a lot of places on that Flyer Leaf game tonight. It is 6 pretty much on every offshore book, at least. Vegas, Westgate, South Point, CG, where our boy Matt Holt resides, still at 6.5 there. But 6 pretty much now offshore. So there is definitely some under sentiment. And hey, you're going to get those people that when they see a 6.5, bam, we're going to look for the value. We're going to take it under. And if there's one game Toronto is going to try to put in a concerted effort at the defensive end of the ice, you would think it's here after what happened against Carolina and Mike Babcock's little rant after the game. Like I say, I'm way more interested in the Toronto side in some form than I am this total here tonight. Even though Leafs over in theory has worked well for me, this is just based on what I heard and from the Leaf camp the last couple days. This might be the time to park it for one night, but I do think Toronto gets the victory and bounces back.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to our channel. Now, we've put a lot of work into producing all these free videos, so please help us out and keep all our content free for you forever by simply liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Now, not to mention, a visit to our industry-leading website will warm the hearts of all our SBR employees, especially myself. Now, the links are over there to the left, so do check those out. Thanks for watching.